Welcome home to philosophy, where we wonder about everything and anything is possible. Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Corey, the Laughing Philosopher. Life is complicated, the world is complicated, and you are complicated. Figuring out how to live a happy, meaningful life, guided by wisdom and reason, is not easy. Is life a game? What is love? Should I fear death? Is this a just world? Almost from the moment of birth, you've been told how to behave, how to fit in, and how to fulfill other people's expectations. You fear that you will lack importance or cease to exist in the lives of others if you think for yourself and question the rules and roles you've been told define you. Wisdom and reason will remove this illusion so you can live authentically in the world around you, find your true purpose, and become your real self. Welcome to episode number 113. Becoming wise, like Socrates. Why knowing nothing changes everything. Here is the poem Invictus by William Ernest Henley. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Invictus by William Ernest Henley was published in 1888. It's a powerful poem celebrating human resilience and the ability to endure and overcome life's greatest challenges through wisdom and good sense. It encourages us to take ownership of our lives, face adversity with wisdom and without fear, and lean on our own good character, even in the darkest times. He wrote it while in great pain, recovering from surgery on his leg. His other leg had already been amputated. Henley's Invictus tells us, I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Socrates might have replied, that's wonderful, but have you actually learned how to sail? After all, being captain is only useful if you know where you're going and if you don't steer straight into the rocks. Socrates believed that wisdom begins with admitting we don't know as much as we think we do. So today, we're going to climb aboard the good ship philosophy, hoist the sails of curiosity, and see how becoming wise, like Socrates, can keep our little boat from sinking in the storms of life. So, what is wisdom? And if one isn't born wise, then how do we acquire wisdom. Wisdom is a skill, and like any other skill, we learn by doing. Aristotle said, "Virtues are formed in man by his doing the actions." In other words, wisdom isn't an act, but a habit or skill. We are what we repeatedly do. Repeatedly do these 3 right actions to acquire wisdom and to become a wise person. First, the practice of philosophy begins, as Aristotle said, with a sense of wonder. The wise wonder about everything, question everything, and accept nothing in their head that does not agree with their own reason, experience, and good sense. Know yourself, said Socrates. Lies, half-truths, exaggerations, uncritical assumptions, total falsehoods. The unwise consume these things by the dozens, and their head is stuffed with them. You are what you eat. American philosopher Martha Nussbaum said, "Knowledge is no guarantee of good behavior, but ignorance is a virtual guarantee of bad behavior." Kevin and Sophia worked at a manufacturing company tasked with assembling a complex piece of machinery. One day their boss gave them a blueprint to follow. The blueprint was old and outdated, but the supervisor assured them, "This is how it's always been done. Don't ask questions, just stick to the blueprint." Kevin, confident in his knowledge and experience, didn't question the blueprint. "I've been doing this job for years. I know enough. I don't need to double-check anything," he reasoned. So Kevin immediately got to work, trusting the blueprint without a second thought. As he assembled the machine, Kevin ignored subtle inconsistencies, assuming they were unimportant. When a part didn't fit quite right, he forced it into place. "It will work out somehow," Kevin reassured himself. Kevin completed the machine. Outwardly, it looked fine, but Kevin's success was apparent rather than real. Kevin's machine failed completely during testing. The mismatched parts caused a critical malfunction, costing the company both time and money. Kevin's "I know everything" attitude and wishful thinking turned a straightforward task into a major problem. Sophia, on the other hand, approached the task very differently. When she received the blueprint, Sophia studied it carefully, but didn't accept it at face value. "What if this isn't the best way?" she wondered. Sophia double-checked the specifications and compared them to the latest designs. She noticed that the blueprint didn't match the new, updated parts inventory. Rather than just forcing pieces together, Sophia questioned the engineering team. "Can you help me verify if this blueprint is correct?" she asked. Sophia's willingness to admit, "I don't know everything," led to discovering and correcting the errors in the blueprint. By questioning the blueprint, Sophia avoided costly mistakes. She completed the machine correctly and even suggested improvements that increased its efficiency. Sophia's questioning saved the day. Admitting you don't know is the best way to unlock true wisdom and see the world as it is. You can't learn something if you think you already know it. True wisdom, Socrates said, begins with knowing you know nothing. Wisdom begins not with "I know," but with "I don't know." Knowing nothing in order to learn everything is the way to wisdom. The wise person doubts and questions his way to truth. The art of knowing nothing, like the art of doing nothing, is a paradox. Stop seeking, and you will find. And if you don't find right away, you won't be disappointed. You won't care, and you won't mind, because you're not seeking. Stop knowing, and you will learn. And if you don't learn right away, it won't bother you, because you know nothing. This is the paradox of seeking without seeking and knowing without knowing. From Lao Tzu, the philosophical founder of Taoism. It's a metaphor to help us choose our way of life and to navigate the social world in wisdom and in truth. Kevin's unwise self-confidence blinded him to what he didn't know, while Sophia's wise humility motivated her to question, learn, and change. Wisdom comes not from assuming you already know something, but from approaching each situation as an opportunity to learn and grow by assuming you know nothing. In admitting, "I don't know everything," Sophia gained the knowledge to achieve success, while Kevin's self-satisfying complacency led to failure. Second, be just as careful with what you put in your head as you are with what you put in your mouth. Everything you see is perspective, not fact. Everything you hear is opinion, not evidence. And everything you are told is belief, not truth. The unwise believe that everything in their head must be true, or it wouldn't be there in the first place. The unwise will hit themselves on the head with a book, hear a hollow sound, and automatically assume that it's the book that's empty. And yet, nothing is so easy as deceiving yourself, and nothing is so difficult as not deceiving yourself. We believe, said Democritus, what we wish to be true, but believing it doesn't make it true. Thinking it true doesn't make it true. Belief is not fact. Belief is not evidence. Belief is not proof. Belief is just a claim. In our society, our way of life is determined by what most people believe. These beliefs will determine what is legal and illegal, moral and immoral, acceptable and unacceptable, good and bad. Kierkegaard said, "The crowd is untruth." After all, belief in sexual and racial inequality was once the majority view, as was the belief that the sun orbited the earth. The majority's beliefs have never been a guarantee of truth or wisdom. Who submitted to Hitler? The majority. Who killed Jesus? The majority. Who sentenced Socrates to death? The majority. It may give you emotional and even spiritual satisfaction to believe as everyone around you believes. But majority opinion is no guarantee of truth or wisdom. The universe doesn't care who it reveals its secrets to. Yet, the truth is a lot harder to find than simply believing what you are told by the majority of other people. And third, there are two right answers to every question. There are two right ways of doing everything. As for the best way, the correct way, and the only way, it doesn't exist. There are always more sides to any story than a single perspective. Today, this seems an indisputable, even obvious thing to say. Yet, we owe this insight to a philosopher from the 5th century BCE by the name of Protagoras. More than there being two sides to every story, because an equally strong and persuasive case can be made for any point of view, Protagoras claimed that there is no such thing as truth. Aristotle describes Protagoras as arguing, "It is equally possible to affirm and to deny anything of anything." Truth, then, is not an objective thing. It is not real and doesn't depend on facts or logic. Truth is just a matter of how the individual chooses to see things. Truth is just a point of view, and all points of view are equally valid and sound. Truth, like beauty, is subjective and in the eye of the beholder. Protagoras was pretty radical, even for Aristotle. And today, his ideas are still being discussed and debated in a branch of philosophy known as epistemology. You wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you didn't think philosophy is good for something, even if you have never really figured out what it is. However, trying to pin down what philosophy is really isn't as useful and important as thinking about what philosophy does. Which is what exactly? Philosophers ask questions and question answers. Often, philosophers question answers we have been told almost from the moment of birth, causing people to feel angry and confused. Socrates refused to stop asking, How do you know this? And was forced to drink poison. Sometimes philosophers answer questions in a novel way that contradicts and denies our deeply held and most cherished beliefs and traditions. Jesus insisted on thinking for himself. He refused to stop asking, "Is this the only way of looking at things?" And you know what happened to him. Philosophers ask big questions and question big answers. Marcus Aurelius said, "What then is there which can guide a man? One thing and one only: philosophy." Who has not, at times, been struck mid-sentence by the sheer weirdness of a familiar word? Have you ever paused, frozen in wonder at some common sight? Ever felt the sudden absurdity of some long-performed routine? This sense of the weird is the basis of philosophy. And although philosophers may be more open to such feelings and perceptions, anyone and everyone may feel life's weirdness. It's only natural. Why, in fact, do we even question our everyday conscious experiences? The weirdest of all the weird things in this life, said South African philosopher John Findlay, is that we find life itself so very weird. And yet, this weirdness is what philosophy is all about. The point of philosophy, said the great Bertrand Russell, is to start with something so simple as not to seem worth stating, and to end with something so paradoxical that no one will believe it. Siddhartha, the Buddha, said, "Carpenters fashion wood, fletchers fashion arrows, the wise fashion themselves. The wise repeatedly practice 3 powerful habits to acquire wisdom. First, don't be afraid to wonder, doubt, and question. Second, don't believe everything you see, hear, or are told. Third, don't be too timid to ask unaskable questions and question unknowable answers. A closed mind, like a ship in a harbor, is safe, but that's not what ships are for. The unwise believe what they wish to be true and see the world as they wish it to be. The wise believe what is true and see the world as it is. Wishes and fantasies will not help you think like Socrates. The truth will set free the Socrates in you." Wisdom urges you to push back on what you might think you know. Push back on what you might be inclined to learn from what you've observed and experienced. And push back on what you might wish to be true. Think for yourself, and like Socrates, you will know the truth behind the lies we live by. The truth is right in front of your eyes, hidden by familiarity. Jesus referred to people like Socrates as the salt of the earth. It is nonconformists, people like you who think for themselves, who change the world. Conformists add nothing. Wise up. You are the master of your fate. You are the captain of your soul. Sail on, sailor.